Imagine a city of the future. A glistening metropolis built on sand brought to a total standstill by one of the oldest forces on Earth, water. Well, in April 2024, that's exactly what happened in Dubai. So how in the world does a desert oasis turn into an urban ocean literally overnight? Let's figure it out.
Okay, let's start with a number. 142 millimeters. That's about 5.5 inches. Now, on its own, that might not sound like a catastrophe, right? But in one of the driest places on the planet, that number is everything. Because on April 16, 2024, Dubai got hit with more rain in just a few hours than it usually sees in an entire year. Think about that for a second. In fact, this was the heaviest rainfall the UAE has seen since they started keeping records 75 years ago, way back in 1949. And the result? Absolute chaos. We're talking about the world's busiest international airport looking more like a giant lake, with planes just stranded on the tarmac. Cars were completely submerged on highways, and homes and luxury shops were just flooded. Get this, one insurance company reported that claims for damaged cars alone shot up by 400% in a single week. So as the floodwaters rose, so did a question online. Was this just some freak weather event, or did someone or something make it happen? And almost immediately, social media zeroed in on one prime suspect: cloud seeding. So let's dive into this prime suspect: cloud seeding. I mean, the theory that the UAE government accidentally caused its own flood is a pretty compelling story, so let's look at the evidence that made so many people believe it.
Flight tracking data showed this. Just one day before the deluge, a plane with the registration number N6151A, which is known to be used for cloud seeding, took off from Abu Dhabi. For the next hour and a half, it flew in these specific patterns over areas with cloud cover. I mean, the timing seemed almost too perfect to be a coincidence.
So, did this flight trigger the flood? This is where we need to follow the evidence, because the official story tells us something very, very different. The UAE's National Center for Meteorology responded fast. Their deputy director confirmed, yep, the plane flew, but stated definitively that it did not conduct any seeding operations during that flight. This was the first major crack in that popular theory.
Now, to understand why this matters, we need to know what cloud seeding can and can't do. See, it's not about creating storms out of thin air. It works by spraying particles, like salt, into clouds that are already forming to help water droplets get heavy and fall. It's a rain booster, not a storm creator.
And when you really break it down, the theory starts to fall apart. Satellite images show this was a massive storm system that formed over the Gulf of Oman, and it hit the country of Oman first, causing deadly floods there before it even reached the UAE. That plane we tracked? It never went near Oman. And weather experts overwhelmingly agree, cloud seeding simply cannot generate the sheer volume of water we saw in this storm.
So if cloud seeding wasn't the culprit, what was? Well, the answer is a perfect storm. Not of weather modification, but of three interconnected factors that turned a heavy downpour into an absolute catastrophe.
First, you've got climate change. Experts like Friederike Otto from Imperial College London say global warming makes extreme rainfall events just like this more likely and a lot more intense. Second, urban design. Remember, Dubai was built on sand, which naturally soaks up water. Now it's covered in concrete and asphalt, which don't. And third, the city's infrastructure. It just wasn't designed to cope with that much water that fast.
The scale of the challenge here was just immense. The city's drainage system was asked to handle more than a year's worth of water in a matter of hours. It was completely overwhelmed. It just had no chance.
And here's a surprising fact that highlights the unique infrastructure challenges of Dubai's rapid growth. Even the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building on Earth, isn't connected to a city sewage system. Its waste is collected in a septic tank and physically trucked away every single day. It's a symbol of a city that grew so fast, some foundational systems are still playing catch-up.
So the verdict is in. It wasn't some secret weather experiment gone wrong, but a failure of urban and climate resilience. And for Dubai, it was a massive, incredibly expensive wake-up call.
In response, Dubai's ruler has approved 80 billion dirhams for a massive new drainage and sewage system project. That's about 22 billion US dollars. To put that number in perspective for you, 80 billion dirhams is enough money to build the Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest skyscraper, another 15 times over. It's a monumental investment aimed at making sure a disaster like this never happens again.
But it leaves us with a final critical question. You know, Dubai has the resources to react and rebuild on a massive scale. But as climate change makes these once-in-a-lifetime weather events more and more common, how many of our cities are truly prepared for the day their own 75-year storm finally arrives?